Hi, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Tech Thinkers. And I hope I know this is a long weekend, and we are all in already in the mood of welcoming New Year and signing off 2023. There's Christmas around. This is already a long weekend, so I know a lot of you will be in a different zone, but we will continue with our endeavor of bringing in experts and who could can share their views, and we could learn and understand from them various particular and specific aspects of business, and which definitely helps in our profession, and at the same time it also is an effort that students who read about the concepts in books, they hear from professionals that what exactly those concepts translate into and what do they mean. So in that continuation today, I have Ajay Sharma with me. Now Ajay is I don't want to say, and I don't like to say veteran, but yes, he is a very seasoned and experienced professional uh, in electronics, and most of it has been in mobiles, where he has established brands in India. If I just name or talk of mobile phones, he has been a key leader in establishing four mobile brands in India. We'll talk about that also. And when I say established, so I think distribution or setting up distribution is one of the key elements, because at the end of the day, you have to reach uh, as near as possible to a potential customer, and that's what distribution enables. Uh, Ajay also loves to write and talk about the industry. He is, one of the neutral and very vocal voices we have in the industry right now. And he is also consulting and advising few brands about how do they set up, or what we know as go to market. Ajay is also advising Tech Arc and helping us find out the great opportunities out there. Hey, welcome Ajay to this show.
Thanks, Fadil. Thanks for having me.
So Ajay, we are today in our fourth episode, and as I had shared with you while we were discussing about this program, that the primary objective of this program is to target young professionals and give them learnings from experts like you, so that whatever maybe they have read during their courses, they get some knowledge beyond that, and they can, because what happens is when we are in our colleges and universities, so there are lots of concepts which just get embedded in our mind, but at the same time there's a lot of confusion also around them. But it's then understanding and hearing from professionals like you that we get to really translate our concepts, and it helps in kind of removing that opaqueness which is always there in mind. So that is one of the target, that young professionals for whom go to market is one of the, I wouldn't say KRA, but one of the tasks that they are currently performing, as well as people who are interested in channel, what channel means, what distribution is all about. And at the same time, we are also wanting, and we also want that students who are tomorrow going to join similar kind of profiles, they also benefit from these kind of interactions. So Ajay, obviously then we are starting at very fundamental and conceptual levels. Tell me, why is distribution very important, and why is channel something that one needs to really think about properly while doing business?
I think be very to make it very simple. So there's a company or a brand which has a product uh, which is based out of a particular place, and there are customers sitting at different points across the country or globally. And how do you reach out to those customers? So while you can address customers virtually in terms of marketing, if I can call it that, in terms of the physical availability of the product, there has to be something which is required, which can move the goods from the stage of production, a produced product, to the customer, to the end customer. So that is where the channel comes into play. So
Okay,
anyone who's a part of this chain of the movement of the goods is what we would define as a channel.
channel. Okay, so it's that bridge or conduit between the product and the consumer, we can say.
Yeah.
Okay, so Ajay, you have been instrumental in setting up at least four mobile brands in key roles, and then also supporting other brands, even in terms of some other adjacent project products you have been helping and advising brands. Help us understand, like, how do you execute this now? Okay, there is channel, it's important, and so how do you execute it? What are the points you keep in mind when you kind of design your channel strategy?
Yeah, so I just take you back maybe 10 years back, possibly not more than that. The channel was only one, which is the so-called offline or the mainline channel, as it is called today, which is
Hmm.
the retail outlets, which are available across areas, across cities, across states, etc. So all you had to do was to make the product available at those stores, which was done through distributors, and then those stores could sell to the customer. Then in came the concept of online business.
Hmm.
So the online business was a new channel which came up in India, which where a customer could actually go onto a platform, check out different products, place his order, and the material would get delivered to him at his home. So they were offering speed, convenience, returnability, various things. At initial stage, they were also kind of burning some money. So obviously, the price and the offers were also very interesting. So primarily, I would say when we talk about channel, we talk about the offline channel or the stores, physical stores which exist in the out in the markets, and two is the online channel, which is obviously the platforms. Within offline, you could have various things like exclusive stores or experience stores owned by the brand, which is the category which is slowly coming up. You could have the modern retail or the large format stores, national, having national presence. Just to give an example, a Reliance or a Chroma. You could have regional chains. There are a lot of regional chains in South. There are a lot of regional chains in West. There are also regional chains coming up in North now. And so there are various kind of offshoots of the offline channel which are coming up, and each has an important role. So when a brand decides to go out in the market, it has to check out what is it trying to do. So if I'm a small brand, let's say I'm a startup, and to set up offline means you need a large team, because obviously you need to cover a large area. Even if you're thinking of launching it in a state, you still need people. You need a back end office, right? You need people to travel. You need logistics cost. There's a lot of things which come with it. So I think for a startup, the alternative of an online channel is very interesting, because all you need to do is get a product listed there, and somehow through social media, get your presence felt there, and then leave it open to the customer to buy. So in the end, what have you done? You have removed all the middlemen who are there, the distributor, the retailer, everyone. So it's straight from the brand to online partner or alpha partner of online, or directly to the customer. You also
Hmm.
have many of these companies now setting up their own sales from their own websites. So one could a small company, the best option would be when it starts is to go for their own sales from their own website. Now people are selling through social media platforms as well. People are selling through Facebook. People are selling through Instas. People are selling through WhatsApps. And second is they could also try and go online. And once you have kind of a baseline that you can kind of incur some minimum costs, then one
Hmm.
could think of going offline. So this is one way. The one way of looking at how to select a channel would be uh, how much of money do you want to spend in terms of selling the goods? So the cost of sales. What is the cost of sales you're trying to look at? If you can afford a high cost of sales, offline is a nice alternative. If if you want to go slow on cost of sales, then online may be a better alternative. If you are a brand trying to come into the market, I think having your own exclusive store, Louis Vuitton would like to have its own store before it starts
Hmm.
selling to anyone else. So it's a big brand, and obviously they would like to position themselves with their own store to start with. They wouldn't like to go in multi-brand outlets, etc. So it all depends on what is the brand's position, what is the pricing strategy of the brand. Does it want to play on price, or does it want to play on, let's say, experience? So
Hmm.
when we say price, so typically let's go back 2014 and you see many Chinese brands. At least three of them came in 2014. So one of them decided to take the route of online. So the basic
Hmm.
idea was to cut the middleman and to give a very aggressive price to the customer. So the idea was low price, high specification, low price, and use online as a medium, reach out to the customer, create some hype, which was the shortage hype or flash sales or offers or whatever you call them, and reach out to the customer. At the same time, there were some other brands which decided to not touch online but go offline. But
Hmm.
then those brands didn't bother about the price. They focused on the product, the quality, their brand name, etc. And they decided to sell the product a little more expensive, but give support to the channel. Obviously, when the channel is selling product, it has multiple choices. To select a brand out of those multiple choices, there has to be some incentive. So these brands decided to then extend some extra margins to the offline channel. So, like I said, it depends on brands' ethos. So some brands have a ethos of focusing on online. Some brands have a ethos of considering offline as a major parameter. The older brands uh, would be still, in spite of the fact that they are also online now, but would be still majorly offline because that is the way they started. Because online wasn't there 10, 15 years back. It requires a lot of hard work to develop offline. So, but these guys fortunately have been in the market for years,
Hmm.
close to about 15, 20 years. So for them, that part of the business already taken care of. So it's kind of well settled and it's working. It's like a well-oiled machine which is working there. So for them, it's now just a matter of trying to build up their image in online. Similarly,
Hmm.
a lot of online players feel that online also has limitations in terms of the audience or the share that it has in the overall scheme of things. So they would also like to, broaden their scope of sales and would like to add offline as a key channel. So I think it's a mix of various things which could make a brand decide which channel to take, why to take that channel. So I think this is about it as far as what comes to my mind immediately. If you have anything to ask on this, obviously I'm there to answer that.
Sure. So no, I think you answered and touched on every bit of it. Uh, Now coming on to specifically mobile phones or smartphones. Now, how do you see mobile phone channel dynamics a bit different than maybe other products?
So mobile phone is one very typical product which is sold like an FMCG, which means it gets sold from many counters.
Hmm.
But it's serviced like a durable or a consumer electronic. So the positioning of the product is somewhere between a consumer electronic product, which is a bigger product, where the volumes are lesser, maybe possibly one third, one fourth, one fifth the volumes of smartphones, but it needs service the way you service a consumer durable or consumer electronic. So it's
Hmm.
little typical kind of a product. The channel, obviously, in terms of the channel play, offline was the main channel till about 12 years back. I still remember even till 2014, if I'm not wrong, and while I don't go by purely by what data, what agencies throw, because I only take them as direction rather than kind of fixed numbers to them, because very difficult to catch numbers today. Earlier, when people were importing CBU, it was so easy. But today, when people parts are coming CKD, it's not so easy. Therefore, all agencies figures will never actually match. So I think now the game is changing a bit. So I think in terms of brands trying to now go early old brands still sticking to offline, trying to go online. Online brands now finding it kind of saturation in online because the offline players are also trying to come online, and online is not growing. So in terms of when you talk about channel dynamics, let me first try and give you my sense of how the market stands today. And I'll not go into deep percentages because I'm very afraid of putting percentages because the percentages don't unfortunately match for different people. But I would say offline is still the biggest channel available in India. That is
Hmm.
clear. That is clear. Now, offline you could divide between the MBOs, which are multi-brand outlets. You could divide then to the large format stores. You could have the exclusive stores. So you could these are the three kinds of broadly the three offline outlets. I think here as of today the biggest is the multi-brand outlets, and they're
Multi-brand.
close to, some people say 1.25 lakhs, some people say 1.5 lakhs, whatever the number is. One doesn't know the number because there's no way of capturing this data, and no one has tried to capture this data accurately till now. So I think that's the biggest, that's the highest share. The other thing which is there is now what is growing now is the modern trade. So
Hmm.
modern trade, which is the large format stores, are gaining now. Now, whether what agencies say it is because of premiumization and people want experience because they are buying a expensive device, or the fact that people now once again after that 2 year break of COVID are once again back to the market, and obviously the fun of shopping in the market is much different from fun of buying online. It's okay to buy a very standard product online. Like I want to order cornflakes. It's very simple to order cornflakes online. But in mobile phones, sometimes even if the specs are the same, the experience may be different when you use the device. So I think that is still going to remain the biggest, the multi-brand outlets. But modern trade, because of this experience factor, because of the fact that the look and feel of the shop is nice, a person wants to go inside a shop which is nice looking. So obviously that attracts them to go inside. uh, these people are able to service better because their tie-ups with finance companies are very, very strong, which means
Hmm.
affordability, I think, which is the EMI concept, which is doing very well now, and which is driving the so-called premiumization which is happening as per agencies. So I think it works better for them because their tie-ups are very strong with practically, they have national tie-ups with practically all the leading financiers.
Hmm.
So I think this segment, and I was even reading a report by a agency which doesn't work. Most of research agencies give shipment data. Now this agency shares more of sellout data, which is the customer sales data. And even the report, which is about 2 months old, I was reading that they foresee a growth of close to about 8 to 10%. Again, I don't want to put numbers, but they see a growth in the contribution of modern trade or large format stores or retail chains in the
Hmm.
overall scheme of things as far as sales of smartphones are concerned. So the
Okay.
second channel is this. This is going to be the channel which will be growing and growing aggressively, growing
Hmm.
aggressively. The third channel, obviously, is the brand's own stores. And I'm sure you would have seen lots of brands are coming up with this concept of, experience stores and all, because again, the premiumization, some fancy words which are getting used nowadays. Premiumization is one, the experience is the other one. So I think all of them want to have a nice looking showroom to position their brand. So it's also about positioning a brand that we are not small people, we are big people. We have a nice fancy showroom and have a service center right next to the showroom to give that confidence to the customers. Oh, okay, if there's a problem, then they have an immediate solution there. So I think this is the third part, but I would still feel for some years this is going to be small. This is going to be more branding, and from the branding perspective, it's going to work for the brand. It will sell, but it will not generate very high volumes. Possibly in small percentages, in single digits. The multi-brand, or sorry, the chain stores, I think South already has a very major contribution of these stores, close to 55-60% of the sale there. And this data I'm giving is based on my experience in the industry. So this is not any channel data or any research agency data that I'm giving. And that is now expanding to south of Maharashtra. That's expanded to Gujarat. That's expanded to now UP. It's expanded to Delhi. It's expanded to Rajasthan. So if that is going to increase, then obviously one could expect this modern trade to grow. Even if you talk about the national players,
Hmm.
be it the Tatas or the Geos, I think they are also adding stores at a very fast pace.
Hmm.
At a very, very fast pace. Even the mini stores or the normal stores or the digitals or the mini stores. So I think this is a channel which will, out of all the three channels in offline, so we talk about MBO one, talk about retail chains two, and we talk about exclusive stores three.
Exclusive
I
stores.
think the biggest is the MBO, but
Hmm.
that is not going to grow too much. I think the second is the retail chains. That is going to grow for sure. I can say
Hmm.
that.
Hmm.
Exclusive stores, that will grow, but that will not have a major impact in terms of volume. So that is
Volumes.
as far as offline is concerned.
Hmm.
Online, I think we now between offline and online, I think the game is now kind of stabilized. Initially, the online used to play a lot on offers, special offers, and early mover advantage in launching a new model that was being given by a brand. And they used to have a kind of a time lag of about 7 days or 10 days to sell that product before it went offline. But I think the offline associations have been able to push their demand for same product, same price, same time. So same offer. So today, whatever advantages online had, and these are the four advantages. They were getting the products earlier. They were selling at a better price. They were because they were burning a bit of money. They were attaching a lot of offers to that. So all of that has been kind of negated or balanced
Hmm.
by the demands of the associations like AMRA, and I think the brands have kind of accepted the fact that in the end, what is going to be the backbone, in any case, like I said, offline is bigger. So that's one. Two, they also realize that what gives stability to a brand. If you go back, I'm just digressing from the point, but if you just go back 2 years, you see what's happened. People, brands which were highly online dependent,
Hmm.
suddenly saw major falls in shares, but brands which were majorly offline remained consistent, reasonably consistent.
Yes. Yes.
So
Yes.
I think this is data. Now this is not data which is from any agency. This is everyone knows this actually.
Yes.
That
Yes. That's a fact.
so
That's
that
a fact.
things have changed. So people now realize that offline is very very key to being present and being close to the customer, because in the offline when your in-store demonstrator is selling a product to the customer is asking questions, you're replying. The customer will say, "Ye क्यों नहीं है इसके अंदर?" He'll ask a question. Then obviously, that's a point for the in-store demonstrator to convey back to the company and say, "The customer, I lost this sale because the customer wanted this. Unfortunately, our phone does not have this." So they also work as it's a kind of a reaching out to the customer and picking up information from the customer and passing it back to the company. So
Hmm.
offline will be key, and will be key. Is my take as far as the channel is concerned.
Sure. I want to draw your attention to 2 points over here. Uh, as you rightly said, that offline you know is relevant, will stay relevant, and maybe has also grown in its relevancy. Would you agree that somehow earlier the reason to buy was very clear, like 4 years, 5 years back, I wanted a 4G phone, and there was a use case. As a consumer, I knew what 4G is going to add value to me. Okay.
Yeah,
So I could just, use online, check out some 4G phone and buy it. Okay. But now what has happened today, honestly, there is no, reason, and, technology, 4G, 5G is not a key reason to buy. Okay. It's okay, a good to have factor. If I am getting a 5G technology at 4G cost, okay, as a consumer, I'm fine to buy, because otherwise 5G is not changing anything for me as of now.
absolutely.
So, and other things are also kind of, they have stabilized. there isn't great difference in, say, battery and fast charging and camera and other such elements. So what is happening is probably consumer wants to buy a device which is good in look and feel, touch, experience. So that is why consumer is saying, okay, I don't want, I don't know why I am buying, but I have to replace my phone. Okay, my phone is due for replacement. Or otherwise also, sometimes people just have this in mind that, okay, let me just replace my phone or upgrade or look for something else. That is where offline relevance is increasing, because you don't know why you're buying a phone. You don't have a reason, a clear cut reason why you want the phone.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on this. Because I think in terms of hardware, earlier people used to, when the people used to buy online, they used to do a comparison. They used to
Yes.
place five models and then compare on various parameters of hardware. I think hardwares have reached a level of saturation. So someone can talk about tomorrow, talk about 500 MP camera. That's another thing. The fact is that that's another thing. But someone could talk about 100 GB RAM and a three TB storage. I don't know. One could go to any extent to pitch. But in terms of relevance in hardware, I think the hardware specs today are more than what are relevant. Honestly, if
Yes.
you go above
Yes.
a particular price point, the hardware specifications or devices which are available today are more than what a normal customer requires. Are more
Hmm.
than what a
Hmm.
customer. So,
Hmm.
so from that was very objective. All these things were very objective. The specification was very objective. Like you rightly said, the thing is now becoming very subjective. Subjective in terms of design of the phone, a curved display of the phone, the kind of the back finish of the phone. The display. How does it look to the eye when I see the display of A phone versus B phone? How does it suit me? I'm not getting into the capability of the screen and the kind of the screen. I'm just
Hmm.
saying the
Hmm.
customer experience in terms of watching it and seeing and comparing. So these are subjective data which you can't quantify online. So
No.
these are things which you need to go out and check out at the floor stage. So I think
Hmm.
that's the reason why offline, like you rightly said, when we use the word experience, so it's not only experience of one thing. I think it's the experience of design, and experience of UI, it's the experience of it's a comparison of ये phone के साथ ये phone चला के देखते हैं कैसा लग रहा है. It's also a little bit of push by the in-store demonstrator who will give you certain advantages that even you won't know about,
Yes.
which online cannot highlight on its website.
Hmm. Hmm.
So I think positively what you said is makes absolute sense. Yeah,
What we technically call CMF, color, material, and finish. And
yeah.
I can see a lot of players now really playing around that as their story to put forward their new models.
Except one.
Yeah, except one, obviously. And it makes sense also. Now if a mobile is coming up which says, okay, there are different patterns which you can find when you kind of maybe tilt them a bit and do all that. So that is very difficult right now to experience online. So for that, consumer would want to see, okay, how would it look like in daylight and all that. So that's where the store becomes
Absolutely
important. Yes.
agree. Absolutely agree.
Okay, and incidentally, also on 5G, also, I know some of the people will say, no, 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 what are you saying? People will need 5G phone and that's all. But in 5G, I saw, we did some review analysis, and there is an interesting confusion still in the minds of consumers. Okay, we, as someone probably associated with the industry, we feel, okay, this, is subject, or this topic is settled. Consumers are still asking whether my 5G phone will work on Geo or Airtel. Okay, will it work in all the bands? Will it support all the bands? Will it work across the country? So there are those kind of confusions still with the consumers, and I think online will not be able to solve this. So this is where offline again becomes important.
Absolutely. I think the communication to the customer, like I said, the communication from the brand to the customer and from the customer to the brand is the easiest offline. I think online companies may catch me later, but
Hmm.
I think I would still trust offline to be able to help out both the brand and the customer more than online,
And
especially in
and
smartphone, limiting to
and
smartphones.
Absolutely. And I would not like I love technology, but I know a lot of probably online, ecosystem thinks of okay, let's introduce chatbots and all that. And we know how frustrating those are at times, when they don't understand your language, what you're talking, what you're wanting to know, and it just throws up something else. So it becomes even confusing and frustrating at times. Okay,
Absolutely.
Ajay, coming to one more thing. So we understood what channel is, what's the relevance of channel, how probably channel is different, in mobile. Now let's come to some of the challenges probably there are with the channel. Okay, as you rightly said, there is emergence of online as an alternative channel. There is direct to consumer as a platform. By the way, I don't know why we feel D2C is only online. My thought, my thinking is that if I'm opening an exclusive store, that is also D2C.
Absolutely.
So I
Absolutely.
don't know
So
why people take D2C only online.
because I don't know, because in any case, even in online, there is between the brand and the customer, there is one person in between, which is the online platform.
Hmm.
So in that term, it is as much a D2C as a exclusive store or of a brand is, which is getting goods directly from the brand,
Hmm.
or a experience store which is getting goods directly from the brand. So
Hmm.
I think D2C is already there in offline as well.
So with these, emerging concepts and technologies, what are two, three things which you feel the channel is missing right now, or the brands are missing? They should have been doing in the offline.
I think one of the biggest things is that what I think is when online came in 2014, uh, people closed their eyes to it till the time one of the brands moved it. Initially, Moto moved it. Actually, the first one was Moto
Hmm.
who moved it. Actually,
Yes.
so
Yes.
everyone tried to close their eyes and say, "नहीं इसमें नहीं. This is traditional. That comfort zone. यही करेंगे. यही ठीक है. यही चलता रहेगा." और जब वो आ गए, people said, "नहीं नहीं ये इसमें दम नहीं है." So people kind of then came the step. Initially, people like they say typically. Initially, they said, oh, "Forget it. They can do nothing. This is not the right channel." When they started growing, then they started fighting. Oh, they started hurting our business. And now that they have stabilized, now everything is fine. But in the end, even after they have stabilized, they have taken away a reasonable percentage of the market share of the overall business.
Hmm.
So the same thing is happening in modern trade today. And I'm talking about all kinds of modern trade which exist in India. So people are today, kind of, I think brands want it, but brands are afraid of it because brands want it because they know this is the future, but
Hmm.
brands are afraid because it upsets their existing offline channel. So
Hmm.
it is the same situation as what happened between online and offline in, let's say, 6, 7, 8 years back. The same situation has sprung up again today.
Hmm.
People who are smart uh, are trying to adjust to it. The people or brands who are trying to fight it. So in the end, let me assure everyone, and not that I'm a forecaster or I am the expert in the industry, but let me be very, very clear in this communication that they are there and they will grow. And some of them are owned by very, very big groups. And those groups, when they come into a business, they really come very strongly in that business. And
Hmm.
if those groups will come, obviously the smaller guys will also come. Smaller than them, not small in terms of real small, but guys, medium-sized guys will also come. Now it is your choice. You want to fight it out with the biggest ones, or you want to fight it out with the middle ones. If you ask me, I'll say better to fight with the middle ones than to fight with the
Hmm.
big ones, actually. So
Hmm.
I think that is one thing, that acceptance of the channel, I think, is vital uh, by the brands, is vital by the offline channel, is vital by everyone, by any research agency, vital for anyone. We have to understand the dynamics. It's changing. The fact
Hmm.
that brands will open stores which will cannibalize business of MBOs to some extent is a fact. It is a fact. It's not only modern retail, it's also going to be exclusive stores. And you'll see plenty of them coming up, let me assure you. You will
Hmm.
see them come up in hundreds. When they will come up in hundreds, because they are now brands are now talking about reaching out even to the tier 2 cities, and tier 3 also. So if you go to tier 2, tier 2, I believe are about 100. If you go to tier 3, I think it could be close to 4 500. So you talk about multiple, and across, let's say, 10 brands today. If you take the top 10 brands which contribute to 90% of the overall business, approximately, as per agencies, again, I don't have the data with me in terms of shipments. I think the fact is that they are all going to come uh, offline, and they are all going to cannibalize. So I think the time has come for mainline, as they call themselves, because obviously they feel they were the first one to bring the goods to the customer. So mainline or offline has to adapt, accept, and now adapt themselves to the challenge of not fighting it out, but accommodating and adjusting to the changes that are happening in the market. No, there has never been a success story of evolution being challenged by anyone and being stopped.
Hmm.
Evolution, once it starts, it only grows. Maybe it stabilizes, as like a product life cycle, it will stabilize over a period of time, like I believe online has in today's conditions. But till that time, I think that evolution you cannot stop. You couldn't stop a monkey from becoming a man. So I'm sure you can't stop a lot of this evolution which is happening in the channel. So you have to let it pass. You understand?
Yeah. Interesting. I have now, I want to talk about one thing which happened in channel and which was very much talked about was the, setting up of Apple's own two stores in India, one in Delhi and another in Mumbai. Now, there are two questions I have linked to it. Okay. One is if we go by the normal metrics of, how many people to kind of employ there versus the business it would generate and all that. I think those fundamentals are completely, kind of disrupted over there. Okay. If I'm not wrong, I think the Mumbai center alone has 100 plus, staff over there. Because the philosophy of Apple is a bit different. Like they want to hold
Yeah.
this creator sessions every weekend or whatever, and get creators, get people to understand more about the product. So it's not just about selling, or over the counter selling kind of a thing. That is one. So, what is your take on that? And as you rightly said, I think there was a bit of fear among people in Delhi, the multi brands and even Apple preferred partners that what will happen to their business. Maybe people will just now go to the main stores. So that is one. Second is no, I don't know. Like we all must have seen those contracts which were over WhatsApp, that these are the kind of contracts that got executed between Apple and the the space provider in those cases. And it had very interesting things that you can't set up, you can't offer it to my competition, and these are the competitions out there. And now my question is, while multi-brand outlet is very interesting concept, do you feel, because of whatever pressures are there in the market right now, do you feel probably some of the brands will have to get to some level of exclusivity now in the offline with the multi-brand guys? Maybe they stop them that, okay, you can't keep stocks of my direct competition. You're okay to keep maybe a segment here or there. I know it's happening, but now maybe it happens,
No,
contractually.
it's happening on paper. It
Yeah.
doesn't. It can't work. Faisal, it can't work. See, today
Okay.
there is no. See, if you again, I have to. Unfortunately, I have to go back to some data that I read, and without going into the percentages, all I can say is that the Q2 or Q3 data that I was seeing positioned three brands. The first one at 18% and the third one at 16%. So
Hmm.
within 2%, there were three brands.
Hmm.
So which makes it 0.65, 0.7% difference between each brand. Over a 40 million or a 45 million shipment in a quarter, this would actually translate to a difference of a lakh phones a month, if I'm not wrong, a lakh
Hmm.
or 2 lakh phones a month. So I think there is no brand. Earlier, if you go back 2 years, someone had a share which was above 30%, someone had a share which was above 20%, and the others were below 20%. Those times are
Hmm.
gone. There is no
Hmm.
brand as per any research agency. Now, let me not quote any research agency, but as per any research agency, there is no brand which has more than 19% market share. There's no one in which has a 2 in front in terms of market
Hmm.
share.
Hmm.
So which we and whatever and the number one, two, three, and now even four in some cases, in some reports, are all within a gap of 4 to 5%.
Right.
If that be the case, no brand is in a position to tell a retailer that I will only give you stock if you don't sell the other brand. I think those times are gone. Those times were
Okay.
there possibly about 3 years back, 2 years back. Those times were there. I don't think the times are there any longer, and I don't think the times will come again. Uh, because I think now the gap is so short, and the competition is so fierce that trying to put conditions and even losing counters in tens, because a lakh phones a month is not much actually. The difference is not much for a 4.5 crore shipment in a quarter. I think 3 lakh shipment or a 6 lakh shipment in a quarter is not much difference between
No, it
amongst
doesn't.
brands.
Hmm.
So I don't think any brand is in that condition. You can have a paper condition, but there would be various ways of bypassing those paper conditions. So I think what we were discussing is that this will come through the opening of exclusive showrooms or experience showrooms by the brand themselves.
Hmm.
So what they will do is that they will try and catch this up through opening their own stores. And therefore, I said that while immediately one should not be too much afraid or kind of thinking about them, but I would say some years down the line they could form an important part of the channel. And like you rightly said, in terms of direct touch point to the customer or the D2C business that we refer to. So
Hmm.
as of now, I don't think so.
But I think that stops anyone, even the ones who may have money and you know other resources to get to say a considerable number in terms of exclusive stores. I think there is always this risk and apprehension that probably you should be that confident that you're getting consumer or a potential customer onto your premise with a lot of conviction that this consumer is going to convert. But I think India, we have a peculiarity that people may come and still move out of the store without buying anything and say, okay, मैं उधर देख के चला आता हूँ what is there. So that is, I think, a challenge out there. What do you say about this?
I think a lot of it is linked to the approach to the customer inside a store. I'm sure you must have gone to the Apple store,
Is it, sorry,
right?
is it only about inside the store, or even to the point of maybe exciting the customer to bring the customer to the store?
I think once you get into this concept of exclusivity or store, then you will have to try and push him to come to your store. And to come to
Hmm.
your store, you will have to offer him something. Now, when you offer him something, you will have to offer him something extra. Now, how does the multi-brand outlet, which is a major channel, accept it or agree to it is a big challenge. Is going to be a
Hmm.
big challenge. So I think I don't see too much of marketing except the initial hype that we are opening this store or a mention of that store in various PR communication that happens.
Hmm.
I think beyond that, I don't think there will be too much of an effort to try and bring a customer over to the store, because then you are trying to actually, it could be taken by the multi-brand outlets as trying to pull away a customer from their store to your customer, to your
Hmm.
store,
Hmm.
which is, goes against the concept of, which is trying to create competition between the brand outlets and the exclusive stores. And today, the brand outlets, multi-brand outlets, are much, much higher in number. So I don't think from the marketing side this should be there, but from the store inside side, if you see the experience, you go to an Apple store, no one comes charging on you. The phones are lying. You go touch a phone, use a phone. Till the time you call someone, no one comes to you. No? And you're very comfortable inside. And then later on, they have a training for you. And in a typical Android store or multi-brand outlet, what happens? The moment this guy enters, there are four people who attack him, and the customer gets confused. So normally, whoever is the more aggressive in a particular counter, unless the customer comes with a very clear concept that he's going to buy a X brand and X model, then fine. He's more or less, let's say 80% clear. The 20% closure is done by the look, feel, by what the salesman tells him. If the customer comes with a 50-50 thought in his mind to a store, I think 50% chances that the sale will not close in the first store. Because the first store he'll only get confused. Because
Hmm.
there'll be so many people approaching him that he will go outside and think for a while. He'll call up a couple of people, ask them, and then second store, then he will say, "Ram, ये price में भैया अच्छा वाला फोन है, वो बताओ, वो दिखाओ कौन सा वाला फोन है मेरे को." So I
Hmm.
think those things would be happening now.
Okay. So Ajay, just to digress a bit. So when you're not consulting, advising, writing, what are you doing? Like, what are your favorite hobbies, pastime things? What do you like to do?
Oh, I I used to read a lot. I have reduced my reading to a great extent, but I used
Okay.
to read a lot of medical fiction. Robin Cook
Oh.
was my favorite, so I used to still read him a lot. And I write. So when I write, obviously there's a lot of. You are a research agency. You know much better than I do. Uh, just having a thing in mind doesn't make you write. So you have to do a lot of secondary research as well before you write.
Hmm.
So but I think that takes away a lot of time. Playing with my grandchild is a great pastime. I think it's 1 hour every day that I must spend with her because I think that gives me the uh, energy and the feel to do more. And I cook a bit once in a while. And I hope my wife is not listening. Otherwise, she's going to be asking me to cook tonight. So I cook a bit, and I like to drive around a bit. So I keep on driving around the countryside. I love to meet people. So even today, I go to stores, talk to them, what's happening, take a feedback from them, what's happening. So I like to be in touch with this industry. This become kind of integral to me. So it keeps me busy. So I think all these things together, I'm sure 8 hours of sleep, then 16 hours is good enough to be doing all this that I've spoken about just now.
Okay, wonderful. This brings to another point. Since I told you that we want primarily the youngsters to watch this kind of stuff and understand and learn from people like you. So it's very important, when you are in something, doing something related to channel. It's, I think, very important that you should be very adapted to travel, and you should be open to kind of mix with different cultures, under different cultures, interact with people. What's your view on that?
Absolutely. I think I started in sales. That was my first job. Uh, at that particular time, it was necessary. The IMs weren't, there were few IMs and there were few people passing out from IMs, and those were only guys who were occupying the top positions. But I think today, if you do not, even if you start at the top, till the time you go out to the field yourself and meet retailers yourself, I don't think it's going to work out. It's because things are changing and the evolution is too fast. It's technology. After all, smartphones are all about technology. Maybe after 5 years, the product may not remain. What I read sometimes, shows to me that the product may not remain after 5 years. There could be a glass which I could be wearing, which has got everything in it. Or there could be a ring which a bracelet I'm wearing, which has got everything in it. And there's no use of a watch or whatever. There's no use carrying a smartphone in hand. So things may change, the evolution. So I think people need to be out there in the market, talking, listening, reading, watching, and there is so much of content. Fortunately, I'm not talking about content as in this fellow resigned from this company and now this fellow is coming in. I don't think that's content. When I'm talking about content is when people have really come up with some analysis, and I'm not even talking about pure numbers because I think numbers sometimes can be very, very misleading. Numbers of a quarter could show very poorly in the next quarter. Brand, particular quarter may be doing well, and next quarter may do bad. So I think you have to be out there in the market, feeling the pulse of the market, traveling, different cultures. Like I said, South is majorly modern trade, so the A modern trade works very differently. You need to understand what do they want. The multi-brand outlets there who are fighting against the chain stores, they have a different mindset. In North is very different. In West again is very different. In East is again very different. So in India, you've got so many countries within a country in terms of the cultures that, and even the way the distributors think, the retailers think that
Hmm.
you have to have a first-hand view. And I think for any person budding to even passing out from a good grade one management institute or even a grade two institute, anyone doing management, I would say, I think if you ever want to start anything, start from the ground.
Hmm.
And start from the ground. I think the ground will teach you everything. And once you go back to the office, you can always fall back on your finance. So if you have a hands full of two things, sales and finance, I think all the others, marketing, sales, directly, indirectly, will teach you what is required, what is not required. And then it's up to the experts to decide what to do on marketing. But I think these two functions uh, need a little bit of, because finance is a very a field, basic understanding. I'm not talking about being a financial expert. You have got CFOs in
Hmm.
companies. You should have
Hmm.
basic understanding of finance, because how does a distributor operate? How does he has got limited finance? How to ensure that he gets maximum ROI on his finance? How does the retailer operate? He operates on limited finance. He takes credit from retailer. How does he manage his cash flow? How does he manage his OPEX? So to that an extent, I would say understanding of finance to that an extent is important for
Hmm.
anyone who's coming into the business field. And obviously, who's the customer? As far as I'm concerned, the first customer is the distributor. If I'm a brand, my first customer is the distributor, because he's investing money on my product. Then comes the retailer, because obviously then he's my last point of sale to the customer.
Customer.
So, but I can't reach the customer. I cannot reach. If 140 million phones get sold in India, smartphone gets sold in India every year, no brand can reach 140 million. You can't even reach 125,000 or 150,000 retailers in India. But possibly 20% of these would give
Hmm.
you a fair idea, which is about 20-25,000. You can't even touch them. But I would say a reasonable sample, and I'm sure as a research guy, you would know what is the correct sample size, should give you a fair idea of what's happening around you. So I think it's very, very important to keep your eyes and ears open. Don't keep them closed. Don't go on the concept that what is working today will work tomorrow. It may not.
Hmm.
Yesterday's premiumization may no longer be a premiumization tomorrow. If
Yes.
people talked about 50% growth in premium segment last year, it is not necessary that the growth in the premium segment would be 50% this year.
Hmm.
So I think one has to be a little careful in judging, and be a little practical by going out himself and checking it out.
I was recently having a conversation with one of the CEOs of a mobile brand, and we were just talking the same thing, that premiumization and democratization can't go along. Either of the two can happen. That's the opportunity for 2024. But you can't say, okay, now everyone will buy 5G phone because it's getting at 8, 10,000 or 11,000, and at the same time premiumization will continue the way it continued probably this year.
Why should a 12,000 rupee or 13,000 rupee 4G customer buy a 10,000 rupee 5G phone?
5G phone, yes.
As of now, there's no use case. That's one. Two is, I don't think, even if, as far as I'm concerned, what do you do maximum? YouTube, right? That's the only streaming that you do maximum. And I think a 4G phone is good enough for that, actually. Is
Yes.
pretty good enough for that. So I would say this concept of, like you rightly said, there are these statements which are self-challenging statements. The premiumization will grow, mid-premium will grow, and then you say, no, then you say the Samsung lost, Xiaomi lost to Samsung because of the lower end. And now again, you see the lower end. Now they're saying, no, lower end is going to grow because most of the 5G phones will come in the lower end.
Lower
And
end.
then if all the 5G phones come in the lower end, then what's going to happen in the mid and the premium segment? Big questions. I don't know. People have
Hmm.
some thoughts which change every fortnight. So I really have very little to say on this. I have my own thoughts, but I prefer to put them. And when I write, I know a lot of people don't like it, but that's the way I am. I write what I think.
No, it's always better to structure the thoughts and put it in a form of a write-up. That's always better. We have also, like, internally, we have also reached that stage where we have started, writing the commentary for 2024, and there are some thoughts, but again, we'll leave that to reports and articles, not probably over this forum right now. I think, Ajay, this was the kind of interaction I wanted to have with you around channel, and I'm sure people who were live with us and will be watching this later, when it will be made available to them, they will really understand that the importance of channel, and this channel mix, I think, is one of the critical things which probably isn't paid a great attention by by the brands. I don't know why, but yes, I think channel mix is an important decision and it should be thought out well. So I'm sure, whatever we discuss, this is going to help young professionals, and I'm sure some of the, learn people will also try to take some nuggets out of it, which will, because now I see a bit of openness in lot many people to really understand and kind of do a peer review of their strategies. So that's where, your thoughts will be handy. And at the same time, it gives a view to students also, that what exactly they are going to do or they're supposed to do once they join maybe a channel function of any business going forward. With this, I would like to really thank you, Ajay, for being with us today, this evening, and wishing you a great year ahead, and some exciting times as we reach the year end.
Thanks, Faisal. Thanks for having me, and wishing you and the viewers and all my followers a very happy New Year in advance. I'm not going to be writing anything for the next 4 or 5 days, so I think do watch this session. I'm sure do ask any questions directly, indirectly to Faisal or to me. I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Sure. Okay, Ajay, time to sign off. Thanks a lot for being with us today.
Thanks, Faisal. Thanks. Bye
Thank
bye.
you. Bye.